And as we really wait to see what Brett Kavanaugh's accuser has to say to Congress, just last week, the head of CBS stepped down amid multiple accusations of sexual assault. And the Me Too movement is also marking 1 year since it started, with multiple allegations of sexual assault against Harvey Weinstein. Let's talk more about this with Sarai Crain Pope of Bay Area Women Against Rape. Thanks for being back with us on the 9.
Sure, thank you for having me.
As the Me Too movement marks 1 year, it started in Hollywood. It has spread to every avenue of women's personal and professional lives. Is this what you expected?
Absolutely. I called it last year. I think when the campaign first started gaining the kind of momentum and national attention that it was, international attention, I knew that there were a lot of people shaking in their boots, and I knew that there were a lot of professional men in power, and not just men, but people in power that had abused it in ways to sexually violate folks.
So let's talk about Judge Kavanaugh specifically.
Sure.
Many people are doubting his accuser's account because of the timing.
Absolutely.
Do you find the timing suspect at all? And what can finally propel a woman to come forward?
I don't find the timing suspect at all. I think that Dr. Ford knew what to expect. She knew that she was going to face the type of scrutiny, ridicule, and at this point, death threats. Her whole life has been turned upside down. And so when people ask the question of the woman, why did you wait? What took you so long? It's because they know that they're going to be blamed. They know that they're dealing with their own sense of, personal responsibility, maybe guilt or shame around not contacting law enforcement if they did or did not report. Sexual violence is one of the most underreported crimes that people experience. And so I don't think it's strange at all.
Let's talk about reporting to law enforcement.
Yeah.
The president himself tweeted on the subject just earlier here, and I'd like to pull up one of his tweets if we can. The president said, if the attack on Dr. Ford was as bad as she says, charges would have been immediately filed with local law enforcement authorities by either her or her loving parents. The president goes on, I ask that she bring those filings forward so that we can learn date, time, and place. Your response?
This statement is wrought with very common, classic, what we would call rape myths. It's laced with the idea or the erroneous belief that, one, she did report at that age, two, that her parents knew about the assault at that age, and three, that there was documentation 40 years ago that would substantiate her claims now. Her whole life is different. She's a totally different person. She's evolved and probably come to some realizations of how critically impactful that rape or that sexual assault had on her life that she may not have known or been able to conceptualize when she was 17.
So do women tell you then, something weird happened one night of my junior year in high school, only now as a woman do I realize it was wrong?
That is so common, Gasia. Women and men too oftentimes sexualize sexual assault instead of recognizing that it's violence. And so it becomes this issue of development, of maturity, of growth, of information. There have been times where folks who experienced childhood assault didn't recognize that the assault was violence because at that age they just had no concept of it. And it's the same for her. I mean, Dr. Ford was 17 when this happened. And you just evolve and develop and learn more. And so I recognize that things could be so different for her now, and especially with the stakes being as high as they are for Judge Kavanaugh. The stakes are so high. I don't think it's a surprise at all that the things have unfolded the way that they have.
As we look back again over the 1 year of the Me Too movement, there were some very high-profile media figures who fell very, very quickly, almost as if as soon as the allegation came out, he was pulled off the air.
Sure.
Is that rapid pace continuing, or perhaps are organizations taking a bit more time to thoroughly vet? I mean, I'll be honest, the allegations against the head of CBS, Les Moonves, were out there for a while, and it took 6 more women coming forward and another New Yorker article before he eventually stepped down.
I think that the same could be, said for the fiasco that's happening with the Dallas Mavericks as well, where the CEO was aware of these things. Even Mark Cuban will acknowledge that he was aware of the violence that was happening, but it took the momentum of the national attention that we're seeing with the Me Too movement. So at this point, I think that some folks are now starting to become strategic because they're recognizing that they could be implicated as well.
And finally, to the women out there who are realizing they've been wronged, or to protect the girls and women in the future, what do you say to someone who's been through a terrible incident?
I say that they need to give themselves permission to name that what happened to them was violent and that it was wrong. I say that women should feel empowered to call to accountability individuals that have caused them harm. And I would say the same for young men and boys who've been caused harm and perpetrated against in a sexual way.
Do you have any inkling that people are making false accusations during this Me Too movement?
The probability is so low that they would be making false allegations. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Not so much.
Okay. Sarai Crain Pope of Bay Area Women Against Rape. It's always good having you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure.